Okay, folks. So the folks at the WEF, World Economic Forum in Davos, have been getting together. They got all their prostitutes together, their private jets, um, their huge Suburbans and Tahoes that they drive to the actual conference, and their 5,000 armed security guards. Who knows where these guys come from? And they take over the town of Davos in Switzerland. And yeah, the cat's out of the bag. If you're trying to keep stuff secret from, well, 99% of the world, I have a feeling it's something that we won't like, and it's something nefarious that probably includes um, the future genocide of us and many others in the world. That's why you hide it. We know, dude. We know what the Trilateral Commission is. We know what Henry Kissinger was up to. Yeah, we got it. And so one of the things they're pushing this year, which is amazing, the theme of the Davos conference this year was rebuilding trust. Okay, because they saw the pushback from COVID, their big biological weapon experiment on humanity. And so they're like, oh, well, let's rebuild trust. Now, for them, think about if Ted Bundy said, hey, I'm sorry, I killed your family. I'd like to rebuild trust with you. Would you be skeptical? Would you be like, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe, Yeah, I would. Because that's who these people are. They're snakes. And they do not actually believe that human rights are a real thing. There was a little speech by, what's that toady? Klaus Schwab's little toady, Yuval Harari. That little cuck beta male, he was talking about how humans actually have no rights and they are akin to jellyfish. You cut them open and there's just a bunch of there's just goop inside. And it's just an organism. There's nothing more to it. Just chemical processes, and that's it. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I don't know if he got his ass kicked in high school a lot. He looks like the type of guy who did. He probably got a couple of swirlies in the men's bathroom and so on. So I figure that's probably his issue. Okay, Graham of worm tongue. That's your thing. So, they're pushing this rebuilding trust, but at the same time, they're saying humans have no rights, and that we've got to get rid of damage to the ecology through farming and fishing. Basically, we need to arrest people who are farming and fishing. And this is called ecocide, as they like to call it. So this is interesting. John Hawkins wrote this, and this kind of encapsulates the pushback that I think we should be having on them, which we already are. They want by 2030, I think their goal is to have us at least utterly miserable. That's the Agenda 2030. If you don't know what it is, please look it up. And by 2050, at least have 3/4 of the earth wiped out, pretty much, to save the planet, as John Kerry likes to scream and yell all the time. But this really isn't about that. We know that now. This is about transfer to the wealthy. Transfer of wealth, and pretending that oil is this scarce resource, which it isn't. It is something that's made from organic matter. They called it fossil fuels back in the day to make it seem like it was very scarce. It is not. It does not just come from fossils. It comes from simply organic matter. And so there's actually quite a bit of it. But they want us to think that it is a rare resource. So the impossibly wealthy and privileged wannabe supervillains at the World Economic Forum, WF, are most famous for the idea of a Great Reset. As you know, Klaus Schwab's book that he had written by probably some ghost author, because I have a feeling Klaus Schwab isn't actually talented. He doesn't have any innate talents. So the you'll own nothing and be happy shtick that they unleashed on the world a few years ago, and their creepy leader, as I said, Klaus Schwab, however, they have now also taken a detour into environmental and animal rights extremism. Yes. So here's Jojo Meda, somebody who should not be in this position, but she kissed enough ass that she got to be able to say this. The founder of Ecocide now, I suspect there's some mental illness here, at the WEF, basically trying to make the case that humans, fish, animals, and trees should all be considered essentially the same for moral and legal purposes. Yes, the intent of this is to take all our rights away by saying that we actually have no rights. We have no rights as human beings. You know what that means? Let me tell you the implication that you actually don't have the right to live. That's what they're getting at, folks. They don't like to say it outright, but think about it. Use your critical thinking skills. It is saying we want to convince people that they have no rights so that when we do kill people, people won't be all up in arms. They'll be like, well, they didn't have rights. They don't have a right to live. So this is truly insane. Speaker at the WF, this chick, says that farming and fishing is ecocide. They want it to be a serious crime. So here we go. This little morsel.
Ecocide as a word is it's becoming better known around the world, and the concept is generally mass damage and destruction of nature. But legally speaking, what our organisation and other collaborators aim to do is to have this recognised legally as a serious crime. Because one of the issues that sort of pervades all of this discussion is that we have a kind of cultural, very ingrained habit of not taking damage to nature as seriously as we take damage to people and property. And that, I mean, if you're campaigning for human rights, at least you know mass murder, torture, all of these things are serious crimes. But there's no equivalent in the environmental space. And unlike an international crime like genocide that involves a specific intent, with ecocide, what we see is actually what people are trying to do, what businesses are trying to do is make money, is farm, is fish, is do all of these things that are producing energy and so on as well. But what's missing is the awareness and the conscience around the side effects, around the collateral damage that happens with that.
Well, the technocrats really love her. We have this cultural, very ingrained habit of not taking damage to nature as seriously as we take damage to people or property. Remember that. Her goal is to have, quote, mass damage and destruction of nature, unquote, legally recognized as a serious crime. With human rights, mass murder, and genocide are serious crimes. Did you see how she said that too? She's like, mass murder, genocide, those are serious, of course, but there's no, whatever. Remember, that kind of laissez-faire attitude is what brings us to extremely grave situations, I promise, because we don't take it seriously. We don't think anything of it. But this kind of laissez-faire, casual attitude towards this really pisses me off. Unlike an international crime, well, you heard it. I don't have to read it again. There are a number of points here worth addressing. Foremost, JoJo. Good Lord. I knew she was nuts when her name was JoJo. Is not alone in her wacky beliefs. In fact, Princeton bioethicist, seriously, Peter Singer has been doted over by liberal, quote-unquote, intellectuals. It should always come with quote-unquote. Whenever you hear intellectuals or experts, put a quote around it. For decades, because of his similar ideas, if you want to sum up Singer's beliefs in a nutshell, this sentence should do it. There is no reason to say humans have more worth or moral status than animals. Of course, this take is lunacy. Why? Because humans are more important than animals or the earth. Yeah, it is. It is true. I'm just going to say it. I actually agree with this. Not in an irresponsible manner. Not in like we go and we just mow everything down and destroy everything. But as far as, yes, there are human rights. Yes, we are kind of more important than that. And our task is to be stewards over it too, and not be irresponsible. So they never say that. There is accountability to it. Anyway, I digress. Of course, this take is lunacy. Even if you love animals and respect nature, you should be able to acknowledge that plants and animals are not the equivalent of humans. And I'll be honest, for myself, I do love animals. I do. I just love them. And I love cats, especially. I like cats. I guess I'm a cat guy. I don't know. I've had cats in the past. I don't have one right now. But I'll be honest, though. If my child went out into the road and got hit by a car, or my cat got hit by a car, I would be definitely more damaged for the rest of my life if my child was hit and killed by a car. That would crush me probably for the rest of my life. If my cat was hit by a car, I would be devastated. But it certainly probably wouldn't be the same level of baggage that I would carry around the rest of my life. And so I'm just saying, Like in when things get down to desperate situations, um, I'm going to prioritize my children, you know, over a dog or a cat. Love them, but I'm going to prioritize them. I think any other take is weird, but that's just my opinion. So, and I respect it. If you have a different opinion, okay, fine. I think it's lunacy, but hey, free speech. So certainly animals understand this on a very fundamental level. I think this is interesting. Do you think lions stay awake at night feeling bad about eating zebras or wondering if the hyenas have enough to eat? No, of course not. Lions put lions first, just as zebras put zebras first and humans put humans first. This is truth. I actually believe that, no, this is actual truth. Even the one potential exception to that rule, dogs, which have adopted humans, still treat dogs and humans very differently from other species. My sweet, friendly little dog Boudica loves to chase cats, squirrels, and birds. Why? Best guess, because they're not dogs or humans. She feels no obligation to them, but she does enjoy their terror when she chases them. This is actually kind of true. I had a cat, and my cat would go out and find lizards and kill them and torture them, just for the hell of it. You know, she would rarely ever eat them. She would just bring them to the front door. You know how cats do, like a little gift, and be like, "See, I got you a gift. I got you a dead lizard. Isn't this wonderful?" Scorpions too. This cat was amazing. Big old fat cat, super fast, and could take on big scorpions too. There's big black ones. There's the little ones that are actually more venomous, I think. But there's these big black ones, and she would kill them and bring them to the front door and be like, "See." And she didn't go to sleep worrying about this. Like, oh no, what did I do? Cats are by nature serial killers, okay? So all of this is very natural. If a species doesn't look out for its own interests above other species, it cannot survive. This is fact. A rabbit has to care more about rabbits than wolves, and there won't be any more rabbit, or there won't be any more rabbits. If human beings had never eaten meat, chances are we wouldn't have survived as a species for thousands of years before we started to understand farming. Yes. That doesn't mean we have to be cruel about it. Exactly. So remember, this is why we have discussions about things, and we don't just throw headlines out and go, oh, that is the truth. Because no one headline is ever going to completely be true, even if it's very true, because we have to expound on it. We have to explore the idea and discuss it and see the different nuances to it. One thing is, the nuance here is, of course, I believe humans are more important than plants and animals, but we don't have to be cruel or irresponsible about it either. We try to take care of nature. We take care of our animals. We take care of our children. But we have to prioritize those things too. I think that when times are not good, you have to look at it that way to survive. So this guy says, personally, I love my dog. If I find a spider in my house, I will take it outside rather than kill it. I've even felt a small twinge of remorse over throwing away a houseplant that's doing poorly, which may seem ludicrous to some people. It doesn't to me, because I have felt that way too. But some small part of me hates to take any living organism that God created and abandon it to die. Well, there is something to that for sure. And I believe in God. I believe in God. And that does kind of carry with me. I'm not always sensitive to that, but I do carry that with me where I'm like, yeah, but they are God's creatures. So even though I'm not going to prioritize them over my children, I still have a responsibility to be kind to them or try to be kind, you know? Additionally, as someone who watched my grandfather kill and butcher a hog in front of me when I was young, I could do the same thing if I needed to. But I'm glad I don't have to. I'm grateful that there are hunters and farmers out there doing it, so I don't have to kill my own meat. All that being said, humans are not the equivalent of animals. It's just normal, natural, healthy position for a human to take. Just as I would expect a boar, monkey, or polar bear to care more about his own kin and kind than me. So, let's move on a little bit here. Among other things, these people, okay, this is kind of some of the stuff that they talked about. If you go to the website of Ecocide now and start looking at all the things they want to criminalize, you will see how well that sentence above matches with what they do. Here's the sentence that they said: the more primitive and less developed a society is, the better. In fact, the fewer people there are, the better. This is from their side. Among other things, they think factory fishing, cattle ranching, deep sea mining, growing soy for animal feed, copper, iron, and gold mining, oil drilling, fracking, agriculture, and the cement industry should be illegal. Let me tell you, if they think that should be illegal, then why, oh dear, why, this woman is wearing clothes that have petroleum in them, that have polymers in them? These clothes would not be available if you got rid of oil. If you outlawed all of these things, she will not be wearing these clothes. She will be wearing a gunny sack, okay? See these glasses? Polymers are in those. You know what makes glasses real light on your head? When the lenses aren't made of glass. And then you can easily port them around and they don't break so easily, okay? Probably some of the products she uses in her hair may have some oil-based ingredients in them. I'm talking polymer-based. So it always kind of amazes me, if you're going to stand up out there and say these things, that this should all be outlawed, please don't wear those clothes, those shoes, those glasses that have those oil-based products, because you're the first person breaking your own laws or your proposed laws. And have you noticed everything at the World Economic Forum is all about outlawing things, making things illegal, making normal life illegal. Oh, you can peaches? We need to outlaw that. You're an extremist. It all has to do with what? Controlling food production. They want to get rid of the ability to feed society. They want to reduce the population. WEF, if you want to know, is another acronym for simply genocide. Eugenics, okay? Rockefeller's baby. So, among other things, yes, do you know what humanity looks like without those things? As I was saying, first off, several billion human beings would not be able to survive. Right there. The goal of the World Economic Forum: several billion human beings would not be able to survive. That is the goal. By their fruits you shall know them, right? Right. Look at that. Look at the end result of all that crap that they say. Think about it and go, well, they said this, they said that. If you triangulate all these quotes that they've made, they actually want the human race to essentially die, except a few chosen, what they consider themselves the anointed. The ones that did would be living like the Flintstones, the ones that would survive this, in log cabins or maybe even in small bands shooting bows and arrows at each other. When people take direct aim at many of the things that make widespread civilization sustainable, it's not an accident, it's the real purpose of what they're doing. So this guy says, my father grew up in an era where people in the country would commonly take unwanted puppies, put them in a bag with a rock, and toss them into a pond to get rid of them. Pollution was often just dumped into rivers, and decades ago, people worked with dangerous chemicals with minimal protection, and no one seemed to care. Okay? The average person seems to care much more about animals and the environment than they did many decades ago. But today, sure, there is still more to do, of course. But everybody cares. Everybody cares about clean air and clean water. We're all affected, but we have raucous debates about vaccines and what foods are safest for people to eat, organic food, grass-fed beef. These are increasingly popular. We've gone from a society that had feral dogs running around everywhere to one where many people call their canines fur babies. We have countless laws, regulations, and an incredibly pushy and overzealous EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, yes, a draconian, authoritarian, that applies burdensome regulations. So how do environmentalists and animal rights advocates distinguish themselves in a country where caring about the environment and animals are such mainstream positions that they're actually a little boring? By taking extreme positions. Exactly. Clean water, clean air, of course. But it doesn't make much headlines. It's kind of boring. It's super important. But this is about histrionics, folks. These people want to move up in their chain, in the chain of rats at the WEF for power and wealth. They want to be the top of the chain. These people probably dislike each other immensely, but they have to virtue signal. They supposedly really care about the animals because they don't think people should be allowed to own pets, or really care about the environment because they want to shut down the world economy by ending drilling for oil. Do you want to see people who care about animals or the environment in America? They're all around you. They're farming, they're hunting, they're going to national parks. On the other hand, if you want cranks with hidden agendas who are willing to go to irrational extremes, look to the animal rights nut jobs, the environmental wackos, and the ecocide touting loons at the WEF. So somebody says, ecocide, ecocide, from the same degenerates who want it to be illegal to criticize chopping children's parts off. I can't even. Anti-humans. Yep. These are the anti-humans. They are anti-humanitarians. The new wave of technocrat spiritualism that exists at the WEF is all about one thing: anti-humanitarian efforts. Now, they will put it on display. They will wear suits. They will talk gently. They will look academic. They will put on an air of intellectual academism. And I say academism because I think it's the worship of academia. Just like scientism is not science, it's the worship of science as a religion, okay? Science in and of itself is wonderful. Scientism, that's when you get into the cults and the religious people, okay? The religious zealots. This is the religion of secularism. He says anti-humans, miserable creatures. I wonder why they don't just take themselves out. You know, be an example of their beliefs. Good point. I'm sure nature won't give a damn one way or the other. They are insignificant blips on nature's radar. Perhaps Mr. Foster would like to be such an example. Well, that's the thing. I'm like, if you're willing to say, hey, we're going to take away all these things, and much of humanity will not survive when you take away all these things. So I would say, you at the WEF, hey, Ecocide lady, JoJo, why don't you set the example and go ahead and maybe just do that yourself? I'm saying, hey, why don't you set the example? If you and your colleagues can show us how this is done, how this is achieved. So you are not going to eat. You're not going to be wearing any clothes to protect you from the cold. Okay? You're not going to have any oil or plastics. I want you to set that example first. Give us like a 3-month timeline and give up all that stuff. And we want to film you like the Truman Show 24/7. And let's see how it goes for you. And then maybe I can see a little more of what you're saying. Because they always talk about this in the future sense, the hypothetical sense. One thing they will never show you is how it really plays out. They will never do this themselves because they would die. They will suffer. I don't want them to die. I don't want them to suffer. Even though I disagree with them, I don't want that. But they certainly want that for us. So I pray that they change their ways, but whatever you want to do, it's your life. So I just thought that was such a good article on that. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. Put a like on the video if you liked it, and please put a thumbs up too if that helped, or whatever you want. Me and JoJo here with her polymer glasses and petroleum-based lenses, we will say goodnight. So thanks for watching, folks, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.